Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Savita. Today we are going to discuss about the module cases applicable in tourism under the paper Tourism and Hospitality Entrepreneurship and Legal Environment. Dear students, after completing this module, you will be able to understand what are the current laws for tourism industry, the importance and need for tourism laws in the country, know about the various cases relating to Indian tourism industry. This module is presenting a brief of various cases which are relating with the tourism industry in one or the other way. The scope of applicability of tourism related laws is very vast. The cases range from gender discrimination to constitutional remedies under Article 21. These cases are some of the selected cases from tourism. The cases can have positive as well as negative impact on tourism. It also depends on the individual to individual how they relate the cases with day-to-day life.
Cases related to travel agencies and tour operators. Manohar Sajnani in his book has explained how the tour operators work. Generally, they are not trained people, thus they are only concerned with the money making instead of safety and comfort of tourists. The cases in the book depict the deficiency in services by the tour operators and putting the travelers into inconveniences. He has also explained about the deficiencies in services by the various service providers. Bombay versus Ramchandra C. Kelly and others. In the case of Aradhana Travel Services, the complaint was filed against the travel operator for termination of the Leh Ladakh region for the petitioner's tour and denial of the tour agency to show hot spring and Wular Lake in its place. Deciding upon the grievance, the district forum had permitted the same. Supporting the direction in appeal, the Maharashtra State Commission apprehended that when it was suspected by the petitioner that the service condensed by the appellant was lacking in as much as there was defect in the listed tour program as was commenced to be completed by the appellant in fulfillment of the contract, there was inadequacy in the service of the appellant in pursuance of the agreement undertaken by the appellant travelling company. The State Commission settled that under these conditions, disappointment to discharge the prescribed obligation in the guided tour as listed for which monetary contemplation was accepted by the accuser company amounts to deficiency under the provision subsection G of section 2 of the Act. Deficiency in services by airlines and railways. Sahara Airlines Limited versus Ramkumar and others. In this case, the airlines delayed the flight from Kochi to Delhi and caused undue hardship and financial loss to complainant. The district forum allowed 3 complaints and awarded compensation of rupees 50,000 to the complainant with cost of rupees 2,000. On appeal to State Commission, the operator contended that the delay was due to technical problem beyond control of appellant, but the plea is not accepted by the Commission because technical delay was not explained. It would give an inference that said delay could have been avoided by appellant and delay amounted to deficiency in services in providing suitable transport facility to complainant and other passengers. The Commission decided that it is to be borne in mind that in qualifying damages there will be an element of guesswork and compensation reduced to 25,000 along with costs.
In the above cases, there are many lacunas and loopholes which surround the tourism industry. The careless attitudes of the tour operators and travel agents have led to huge losses to the tourists. The courts have been kind enough to impart justice to the aggrieved parties in one or the other way.
Gopinath K. Deshpande versus Alitalia and others. The ticket of complainant was confirmed from New York, Milan, Mumbai, but the flight was already full. The complainant accommodated in another flight to Rome, from where another flight would take them to Milan. But complainant was detained at Rome airport as complainant has no visa. The deficiency in services was alleged by the complainant, but his complaint is dismissed by the State Commission. On appeal, the National Commission held that operator rerouted complainant to Rome without checking visa. Travel amounts to deficiency in service and operator is liable to pay compensation and ordered to return the airfare as paid by the complainant. V.K. Bhatnagar versus Emirates and others. In this case, the petitioner booked a ticket for Delhi, Dubai, London Emirates flights, but when petitioner reached the airport to board the flight, he was refused on the ground that there was no booking. The district forum found deficiency in services and guided the accused number 1 to compensation an amount of rupees 21,400, the cost of ticket and expenses incurred on stay at Dubai, rupees 5,000, and expenses incurred on visa amounting to rupees 3,000 and sum of rupees 25,000 for mental pain and agony damages and costs. But the State Commission reduced the amount awarded for mental agony and paid from rupees 25,000 to rupees 10,000. In provisional jurisdiction, the National Commission too refused to interfere in the order of the State Commission.
In the case of Cox and Kings, India Private Limited versus Tarun Kumar Bose and others, the airlines confirmed ticket but the flight was cancelled. The full amount was not returned to the complainant. The deficiency in services was alleged by the complainant. The district forum allowed the complainant and asked the operator to refund the full amount of air tickets. On appeal, the same is decided by the State Commission that when flight is cancelled, the operator has to return full fare and amount deducted for procession of cancellation procedure not accepted.
Deficiency in services by railway. V.K. Sanghi and others versus South Central Railway. A railway ticket was booked by senior citizens for the lower berth, but the lower berth was not allotted to them. The railway issued the ticket with waiting list, but the railway's rules provide lower berth to senior citizens. The complainants were allotted middle and side upper berths. Even on return journey, same kind of seats were allotted. It was found that tickets were issued discriminately. The deficiency in services by railway was alleged by the complainants. The railway contended that the basis for allotment of lower berth to senior citizen is that they should travel alone and it is difficult to provide lower berth 40 days prior to journey from Hyderabad to New Delhi. But the railway failed to establish adequate number of lower berths were provided to senior citizen from Delhi to Hyderabad journey. The deficiency in services by the railway provided and the railway was directed to pay rupees 2000 to the complainants.
Indian Airlines Corporation versus Abdul Majid and others. A wait scheduled ticket holder of Indian Airlines filed a case of absence in service on the Madras to Cochin flight that was confirmed on the day of the trip. However, after the petitioner had finished all the procedure, he entered the flight and taken the seat assigned on his boarding card. Sometime later, the duty officer of Indian Airlines, alongside with other officers, undeniably expelled the petitioner from the aircraft in the procedure, ripping off his shirt and disgracing him before the other travelers. The Tamil Nadu State Commission permitted the complaint. In appeal filed before the National Commission in the National Commission sustaining the impulsed order held, the finding entered by the State Commission that the complainant has satisfactorily proved his case that his shirt got torn as a result of the force applied to its arm by the staff of the Indian Airlines while he was being out from the aircraft. In these circumstances, the State Commission was right in holding that there was deficiency in service on the part of the appellant Indian Airlines Corporation.
Negligence by boat club. Kedar P.S. Sandhu and others versus Union of India. In the event of Kedar P.S. Sandhu and others versus Union of India, by awarding a compensation of rupees 3 lakh to W.G. Kedar Sandhu and rupees 2.4 lakhs each to his two children for the death of Mrs. Sandhu is a boat tragedy. The National Commission made it clear that those who pay scant attention to safety will be held liable for any loss of suffering caused as a consequence of such negligence. In this case, the law court seized the army authorities who ran the boat club at Barapani Lake near Shillong, a guilt-ridden of disregard for not offering life jackets or any other safety methods. These cases should serve as an example to those who face similar hardship at the hands of tour operators or travel agents. At the same time, it would be better while making the arrangements and payments to clarify every point so that there is no ambiguity in the contract. And if even after that the agency provides deficient service, it can be hauled up before the consumer forum. Such cases are not rare, but what is unusual that a government agency has for the first time decided to file a complaint on behalf of the consumer, since the Consumer Protection Act stipulates that the case be filed in the district in which the opposite party carries on its business or has an office or a branch office. Most tourists find it difficult to seek redressal from consumer courts because of jurisdictional barriers. This is where a government agency can step in. Of course, the ministry may also face some problems in this regard if it has to file cases outside Delhi. One solution case is to coordinate with state governments. In fact, the ministry is encouraging state tourism departments also to set up similar complaint cells. So far, complaints received by the cell fall into three main categories. They are against tour operators and travel agents, hotels, and shopkeepers. The official in the ministry say that they receive the large number of complaints against gem and jewelry traders in Jaipur and Agra besides carpet sellers. Often they pertain to overcharging or delivering goods far inferior in quality to what has been selected. A large number of complaints also refer to the poor service rendered by travel agencies. Already, the cell has withdrawn in recognition given to a travel agency following 4 complaints that it had failed to make onward bookings, thereby subjecting the tourists to a lot of inconvenience. All this raises the hope that tourism and travel industry will soon become more tourist friendly and responsive to their complaints. Cases under the Forest Conservation Act 1980, T.N. Goda, Varman Thirumulkan versus Union of India and others. In the case of T.N. Goda, Vardhan versus Union of India and others, the Supreme Court of India Civil Original Jurisdiction Right Petition number 2002 Civil, the court in this held that the Forest Conservation Act 1980 was passed with a view to draft further deforestation, which eventually outcomes in environmental imbalance, and so the requirements made therein for the protection of forests and for matters linked therewith must concern to all forests irrespective of the nature of ownership or categorization thereof. The word forest must be assumed conferring to its dictionary sense. This explanation covers all statutorily recognized forests, whether designated as reserved, protected, or otherwise, for the purpose of Section 2, subsection I of the Forest Conservation Act. This facet has been made profusely well defined in the result of this court in Ambika Query Works and Organization versus State of Gujarat and OS. Rural Litigation and Entitlement Kendra versus State of UP. Recently, in the order dated 29th November in Supreme Court Monitoring Committee versus Mussoorie Dehradun Development Authority and ORS, the earliest decision of this court in State of Bihar versus Banshiram Modi and ORS has therefore to be understood in the light of these two following judgments. They contemplated it essential to reiterate this established point evolved from the judgment of this court to dispel the doubt, if any, in the observation of any state government or authority. The court guided that in view of the meaning of the word forest in the Act, it is clear that earlier sanction of the central government is needed for any known forest movement inside the zone of any forest. In agreement with Section 2 of the Act, all ongoing movement inside any forest in any state through the nation, exclusive of the prior sanction of the central government, must terminate immediately. Cases related to foreign travel. Satwant Singh Sahni versus D. Ramaratnam. Satwant Singh Sahni versus D. Ramaratnam. It was held in this case that right to go abroad forms part of Article 21. The petitioner transferred on the business of export, import, and the manufacturing of automobile parts, and in association with his business, it was compulsory for him to travel overseas. For this commitment, he was holding two valid passports when on August 31st, 1966 and on September 24, 1966, the first and the second respondents being the assistant passport officer at New Delhi and the regional passport officer at Bombay, separately wrote to the petitioner calling upon him to submission of the two passports, as the central government had declared to withdraw the passport services drawn out to him. The petitioner filed the current petition under Article 32 of the Constitution, alleging that the respondent's action overstepped his fundamental rights under Article 21 and 14 of the Constitution and pleaded for a writ of mandamus directing the respondents to withdraw and terminate the decision enclosed in the two letters. Cases related to environment. M.C. Mehta versus Kamal Nath. In the case M.C. Mehta versus Kamal Nath, it is held that a right to pollution-free environment falls under Article 21 and any interruption of the basic ecological components, mainly water, air and soil, that are essential for life would be held dangerous to life inside the meaning of Article 21 of the Constitution.
Union of India and others versus Dr. Mohanlal Gupta. In this case, the railway platform was not maintained and the petitioner contended that while he was trying to board the train on 29th January 2002 to go to Mandsaur, he fell down near the edge of the platform and the train compartment because the platform was dug up at several places in that area. The complainant sustained bilateral fractures and 38% disability. The deficiency in services by the railway is alleged by the complainant. The district form allowed complaint and directed up to pay compensation. On revision, the National Commission found that the mishap occurred because platform was dug up, making it inconvenient and dangerous for passengers to board train. The railway are duty bound to ensure safety of passengers in trains and within property belonging to and maintained by them. The compensation was modified and enhanced by the National Commission to Rs 1,20,000.
Economic conditions and unemployment also influence criminality to a considerable extent because the Canadian, British and American residents' buying power is comparatively large matched to the common Indian population. They are the desired object for burglary and other serious crime. Unemployment among the youth is also cause of crime. Today, the youth indulge in crime because of their extravagant and expensive lifestyle. They believe in show off, want to keep motorbikes, cars, costly mobile phones, want to wear branded clothes, which is not easy for unemployment youths to maintain, so they indulge in crime and the tourists become the easy target since they are outsiders and are not familiar with the roads. theft of camera, mobile phones, chain snatching and other valuables of tourists is becoming common these days. In the year April 1999, Savraj Damri, a visitor from Mauritius, was assisted by a group of Indians who later held him in 25 days of detention. They raided him of cash amounting to US dollar 1500, took his traveler's check, bracelet, 2 bags, a wristwatch, gold chain and suitcase. In the year 2000, 2 German tourists were shot in Himachal Pradesh. A few weeks later, 2 Spanish travelers were murdered in Himachal Pradesh by burglars. Ample foreign travelers are sufferers of fierce crime in Kolkata. In the year September 2006, prisoners robbed the wallet of a British lady in Kolkata. The same month, a Japanese tourist was robbed on his way to Sudarsa Street. In the year October 2006, a foreigner was robbed in daylight on Park Street. Passport theft. In India, theft of passports of foreigners from their baggage in and trains is common. Theft of US passport is very usual, mainly in main tourist destinations areas.
Cases relating to crimes against the foreigners in India. There are some occasions of violent crime touching foreigners in India. Most of the crimes happen with foreigners only. Scams including export of jewels happen in the country which aim foreign residents. Traveling alone in distant zones after dark is of pressing risk to the strangers. Police records say at least 14 foreign travelers, maximum of them young tourists, have disappeared from the area in current years.
A possible explanation is given that tour meaning a trip. This term has evolved from tour or cassette and referred as leisurely relaxing and sightseeing while going around the parapets of tower. It was only by the 18th century that tour in modern sense offer temporary trip away from home for some pleasurable purpose became well established. All countries throughout the globe are vying to secure the best shares of tourism for themselves on realization of the benefits that this industry brings. But the mad blind rush for this sector, taken for granted at times, has started showing its negative face in the shape of resultant impacts of the industry's very development. The growth of this industry has now raised a warning alarm for the developers and stakeholders, bringing forth concerns and dilemmas of future growth. A number of tourism related issues to be addressed by environmentalists, developers and local communities are constantly emerging and need serious thought. With the growth in tourism, there is also a growth in the understanding of the various dimensions involved in tourism, particularly the service dimension and the industry aspect. In this new understanding tourism has emerged as an extremely vital and strategic activity having immense potential for employment generation and earning foreign exchange to core element in the developing economy such as ours. At the same time, we cannot ignore the fact that without proper monitoring, tourism can be a double-edged sword. While it has the immense potential to be in the forefront of socio-economic development, it can also put tremendous pressure on environment and socio-culture ethos. Moreover, new and socially untenable forms of tourism are also raising their ugly head. Thus, the issue of culture, social and economic sustainability of tourism also needs close and constant attention.
So students, let's now summarize what we have learned in this module. Man is a tourist to some extent. Man has always been a wanderer. In the ancient times, he roamed here and there aimlessly like vagabonds and ate fruits, raw flesh, slept in caves, etc. Slowly and slowly, he became civilized, formed societies, and started living by following certain norms among themselves. The society was governed by heads whom everybody obeyed. The wrongdoers were given punishment. In grave offenses, they were ostracized. In modern time, men roam with certain aim. Thus, a person who is away from his house for more than 24 hours is a tourist. Tourism is not a confined field, it is a big field. That is why it is regarded as an industry. Tourism can be in any form, such as religious tourism, medical tourism, educational tourism, sports tourism, business tourism, etc. Depending upon their choice, the tourists choose their destinations like mountains, beaches, and historical places, and so on. The scope of tourism is too wide and deep, since it is applicable to every strata of society. With the arrival of tourists at any airport or rail station or bus station, the tourism starts its encounter firstly with the service of a coolie to taxi driver and transport companies, to guide, to tour operators, to hotels and other accommodation establishments, to restaurants and other eating places, to entertainment center, to shopping establishment, and so on. Since there are so many people and subsidiary industries that are associated with the movement of tourists, there exists scope of some rules and regulations. But till date, there is no one thing which can be described as tourism legislation because of the varied nature of tourism itself. This is the reason that why there is a need to study the status of tourism legislation. Thank you.